Welcome to a brand new episode of the AEG show. This is your host, the best host, the only host. Sorry, Jeff. It's Goose. He's back and he's better than ever. Doesn't get better than me, folks. I can tell you right now. And we also have our founder, our God, Big Dick Daddy Dalton. He's back.
Yeah, I'm here to wrangle in my boys. Shit doesn't get done without me, so I'm back. I had to get everything back on track.
And then we also have the Honduran heartthrob, the muscle machine, the greatest looking Latino man on earth.
Right out loud. Look,
Marlon.
Lord Almighty. Hey guys, what's up? We're live here from Miami, the city of sun. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that crap.
City of what?
All right, so no, it's there's a joke or an ongoing joke here from Miami.
I don't care. Let's move on to this next part.
They're calling it the Sun City. I'm like, they're calling it the fucking Sunshine State. I'm like, no, it's not. There's like fucking rain every other weekend or every other day. So it's like, fuck that shit. So how you guys been? Everything good?
Hanging in there, just getting ready to get this show rolling and get it on the road. So for the listeners out there, this is going to be a loose one. We're going to play loose today, but it's one that we've really been looking forward for a while. We've been looking forward to for a while now. We're going to name our top 5 favorite games of this generation thus far. To set it up for the listeners, we're going to go round robin style. We're going to name 5 games. And then thanks to Dalton, who came up with this great idea, we're going to have 5 honorable mentions apiece that we will insert between games 2 and 1. So that's how the format is going to be. Dalton's going to kick it off with his game, and then Marlon, and then myself.
Sounds awesome, dude.
I know we're all a big fan of list shows, and Dalton's been waiting to do one for quite a while. We rarely get to have him on because he's working tough, and he's working rough, and he's working hard. But we got him. We wrangled him on for this one.
Yeah. All the gaming news we've got this week, we're just gonna ignore it and go right into this. So my number 5 for this is it's kind of like an opinion piece, right? Like we're just kind of rattling off what we think the game of the generation is based on our personal preferences and style of gaming. So my number 5 is a fairly recent title, just came out last year, and that is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like, I never thought I'd ever have an Assassin's Creed game anywhere near any list that I've ever made, like unless it was like biggest garbage or whatever. But I loved Assassin's Creed Odyssey so much. Like, I feel like, I don't know, it brought me back into the series, and I couldn't stop playing it, dude. I played it in December, and I played it like straight through to the platinum and everything on PS4, and I just couldn't stop. So it was awesome, man. It was cool to enjoy an Assassin's Creed game again.
What was it about these Odyssey that separated it, at least to you, from the prior Assassin's Creed games that you had tried and played but just couldn't get into?
I think it was the addition of like RPG elements. Like, I didn't play Origins, so I like beforehand, so I didn't really have that reference. But so to me, like, Odyssey was like, okay, this is an RPG, open world RPG, which really I think that's what brought me in, being the RPG fan that I am.
So because of the fact that, I mean, they've all been open world games, but because this one, I would say, it had those RPG elements, that's what really tied you down to it. But did you like the world? Did you like being in Greece?
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Ancient Greece is awesome, man. Like, I remember being in school and loved it, dude. When we were learning about that, can't even remember what year, like 5th grade, I think. But
mythology and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was just awesome, dude. Like, so it was pretty cool to, like, explore Ubisoft's take on ancient Greece and shit, so.
Now, before we move on to Marlon, I know that you've been working hard for a while now, so you haven't been able to play many games. But, because I know you own the Season Pass, when you come back or in the future, do you look forward to or plan on playing any of the downloadable content that's come out since the game released?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now that I double dipped. I bought the game on PC as well.
Oh, you did? I forgot. So, yes.
Yeah. I got it on sale for like $25 for the gold edition. So I just bought it. I just pulled the trigger again. So I'm pretty excited. I'm definitely I want to play that fucking Atlantis DLC so bad.
It looks good. Awesome. It looks amazing.
But yeah, that's my 5.
This brings us to Marlon's number 5.
Número 5. Hola queridos amigos y amigas, aquí estamos hablando del... No, I'm not gonna go.
We're in
fucking
the United
Spanish.
States here,
States.
boy. So you speak English, all right?
We're in the southern state, all right? So if we're going to be talking about video games, we're going to talk about the southern state video games, like Titanfall 2. That's my number pick for number 5. So I never played Titanfall, the original one, because it came out for the Xbox, and at this point, I was playing more for the PS3 and PS4. So I never got to experience that whole just multiplayer base with very little story when it comes to Titanfall. But I was very intrigued by it. So when Titanfall 2 was announced for the PlayStation, I got into it. I don't know, man, but for some reason that game just grabbed me, pulled me, and it was one of those games where I feel like I was such in a rug because I was stuck playing Destiny for such a long time that this game like made me like, you know what, let's play something different. And when I got that, become the master trophy, and you guys really
Which was
pissed
a
at me about
garbage
it.
run, by the way. I've watched that video like 8 times.
I know.
And that run
I know.
fucking sucked.
Uh-oh.
Big time.
We've had, crash. Somebody's crashed the party.
Crashing the party.
Somebody's
We got
crashed the
Ratatouille
party.
here.
Right in the nick of time. Right in the nick
Yep.
All right.
Got
Well,
it.
that'll do it for this week's episode of the AEG show.
Thank you guys for liking, subscribing. Well, thank you for everything. We're done. Likewise, I'll see you guys in a bit.
What the shit?
Just
No,
all right, for the listeners out there, JB has joined us. Just a real quick recap, so Jeff knows exactly what's going on. We're gonna do our top 5 favorite games of the generation thus far. Dalton has said his. Marlon is currently saying his number 5th, and then it'll be JB, and then it'll be me. But JB, real quick, in between our picks 1 and 2, we're gonna name our top 5 memorable mentions.
Okay. Oh, man.
Between,
All right.
Between
And
our
this
2 and 1.
And this is just this gen, correct?
Yes.
This generation, correct. It includes both Wii U and Switch.
Okay.
And a lot of other different consoles. So
Can you for me that is the layman, can you recap yours real quick, Dutton?
Dutton? Yeah, I will go ahead and do that. Mine was Assassin's Creed Odyssey at number 5.
Okay.
and mine is Titanfall 2, so you can have that.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got ourselves a show now.
Yeah.
You can say
Our-
that again.
Our better host is back, so Gustavo, take the back.
Oh, thank you, Dalton.
I can't say that to Gustavo, though, because he's slightly brown. But,
Yeah.
Slightly brown. I'm kind of black.
yeah, he is.
He's more akin
But, yeah.
to the other side
So
of the
mine
wrinkle.
is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Marlon's is Titanfall 2.
Okay.
Which
Tick tock. It's ticking.
brings us to Jeff.
All right.
At number 5, you're getting thrown into the mix.
Yeah, shit. Well, yeah, we'll go with it. I'm gonna go with Horizon Zero Dawn.
Really?
Nice.
Solid
That's a solid pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 2017's game of
yeah,
the year for everybody in the world.
Yeah, I was
Right, sure.
coming up with a list and I was just kind of throwing shit together. But yeah, Horizon, I mean, that game just from a developer that had done, basically first person shooters up until that point for the most part, just that world and the story and just mostly the world more than anything was what really, drove me into that game and made it so special to me. I mean, I don't really have much else to say.
You couldn't
It
mow
was
the
just-
lawn in it, so it wasn't game of the year.
Yeah, well,
No, I'm actually glad that he kicked off with Horizon Zero Dawn.
So am
It's
I. I thought it was a great pick.
It's a solid pick. I think Guerrilla Games did an amazing thing in creating Alloy. They created a new mascot for Sony, right? We got the God of Wars, we got the Uncharted, we got the Little Big Planets, but Guerrilla was really underrated with Killzone. I love the Killzone games, especially 2 and 3, but with Horizon, they were able to create something completely different, something special.
Stepped out of their comfort zone, too.
Absolutely. And moreover, I was a big fan of the world, but I was also a fan of the story, and especially the story that took place in the what I like to call the modern past. And with all those characters, man, I'm thinking of the Ted Faro is one of the best villains that wasn't even properly in the story in terms of he was dead, right? He had died probably millions of years ago prior to the start of Horizon Zero Dawn. But he was just such an evil and selfish
Well
character.
written. Well
Conniving motherfucker.
Well written. Very well written.
But that was a solid pick, Jeff. I like that.
Yeah, the narrative on that game was. So
Something
Gustavo.
I can't believe it's number 5 for me. But because I fought for it last year. And I won because I win.
You won because everyone bailed on me.
This is true. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, all right.
Number 5.
Right.
So the name of the game is called Top 5 Favorite Games of the Generation Thus Far. And I had a hard time putting this list together, but I had to go with Red Dead Redemption 2. I love being in that world. I took a week off of work to play that game. I couldn't believe that when I got my, I like to call it returns, when I got my returns from Sony on how many hours I wasted of my life playing video games, it was, I think, in second or third place with like over 110 hours. And I was like, wow, I put 110 hours into Red Dead, and it felt like it just flew. But having never finished Red Dead Redemption 1, I jumped right into Red Dead Redemption 2, and I loved Arthur Morgan. I played him as a villain. I wasn't necessarily a bad guy, although there's a little bit of dissonance at the end with the story because he's really not a bad person, right? There's an arc to his story where he sort of redeems himself, or he tries to redeem himself. The game wasn't to everybody's liking, right? I wouldn't say that there was a controversy with it, but it wasn't to everybody's liking. I remember when we played it here on this very show, we all talked about how it felt like playing with molasses when controlling the character. This is another $10 fancy word that I like to use, but that game is just and what is the word again? I shouldn't say it if I can't pronounce it. An anachronism of
Anachronism.
Anachronism. Thank you so much. Of
You're
games
welcome.
past, because you can tell that Rockstar developed this game and it took them years to make it, but they were firmly stuck in the past with a lot of the gameplay loop. But what was its saving grace was the fact that it was just so highly produced, right? Like if somebody tells me and says, hey, listen, this game plays like shit, like Dalton or Jeff would say, I'd be like, you are absolutely right.
Yep.
It plays like shit. But
But
even
in
then,
terms of narrative, though, is the best. Best of 2018.
yeah, I agree. So, yeah, that was number 5. So, we're going to swing it around to Dalton with his 4th pick.
All right. My 4th pick, number 4, is Final Fantasy 15. A game that was in development for what seemed like forever.
Was forever.
It was 10 plus years, I think.
Yeah,
They
2005 or 2006, the trailer debuted as Final Fantasy Versus 13.
Yeah. They ended up making the switch. Oh, the title switch anyway. But yeah, I fucking loved it, man. When it finally came out, dude, I sat and played it. I platinumed it in less than a week. I got it on a Tuesday, and I platinumed it that Saturday or Sunday. So,
What a loser. What a loser.
Seriously.
How dare you beat games that quick? Jesus.
Yeah, I believe it was my 10th platinum. That's when I tied Marlon for platinums, and he quickly got number 11, I believe, right after that.
Yep.
Then you blew
And they
past
blew me out of the
him,
pattern.
Yeah,
and
now
then you blew past me too.
it's not a race anymore between Marlon and I.
No, it's not.
But yeah, Final Fantasy 15, man. The story was amazing. Like, it had some holes. Like, you could tell they kind of, like, it felt like they kind of rushed it a little bit, getting it out the
At least
door.
especially towards the end.
Yeah, like, but I still fucking loved it. It's a Final Fantasy game. I love the combat, the way they did it. A lot of hardcore Final Fantasy fans probably, I know a lot of them hate it, but you can't make those people happy anyway, right? Like,
No.
those are the same people that are bitching about Tifa's tits. So, yeah, so you can't make those fucking losers happy. But
You'll never
It's,
make
fucking losers.
But yeah, Final Fantasy 15. Not only is it like in my top 5 for game of the generation, but it's in my top 5 Final Fantasy games ever. So
Let's linger on this one for a bit, because you're very well versed when it comes to the Final Fantasy games. You're a big fan of the Final Fantasy games. Did you like the fact that it was action, that it wasn't turn-based?
I sure did. Yeah, I really did. And this is coming from a guy like Final Fantasy X is my favorite game of all time. The turn-based combat in it.
Wrong. He's wrong.
I'm wrong. But dude, it's why stay in the past, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with modernizing your game. Like, how the fuck would turn-based even really work in these modern open world game? Not really open world, but it kind of was. But you're you know what I mean? You're running around, then you got to go into a turn-based system. Like, it's just better just to have an action sequence. You know what I mean? Like,
Seamless.
it helps
is a
the
good
game
word.
flow better. It just
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know. I feel like not that turn based is a thing of the past, because it's not. It's clearly not. I mean, Pokemon games are still turn based. You know, Persona 5 was turn based. I think they did a good job with that. But I don't know. I like it. There's nothing wrong with updating, changing shit up, and staying fresh.
I'll just say this about it. Like, I have no connection to it. I own it. I have the DLC and stuff, but I haven't really played it much. And just to pick this out of it, like, the only thing that I focused on was, like, I saw the prequel film to it.
It was good.
And it was pretty good. I liked it. It's kind of funny enough. This is odd, but I saw it with my mother, out of all people, which I thought was a little weird. The fact that she actually wanted to watch it and liked it. But my only other connection to it besides the film was the fact that the only Final Fantasy that I played and finished to completion is Crisis Core, and that was not turn-based. It was an action-based game. And it's kind of funny because the same guy who directed Crisis Core was the same guy who was brought over to finish over 15 from who's the director of 7? Sorry, Final Fantasy nerds.
Oh my god, dude! Now
Nomura? Tetsuya Nomura?
Tetsuya Nomura.
There it is. Yeah, there it is.
Thank you.
So, like, I thought that was kind of cool. But no, I think that's a solid pick. I have another friend, Julio, who's a big fan of Final Fantasy. I wouldn't say that he's on par with you, but he's a relatively big fan, and he ate that game right up. He's got over probably more than 120 hours into that game. He loved it. But that leads on to Marlon's fourth pick.
For my fourth pick, I was debating a lot, but I went with God of War. Because...
And for the listeners out there, he debated with himself in the mirror as he sprayed on oil and flexed his muscles.
Rubbed oil on himself.
Rubbed oil on himself, and he was flexing and saying God of War or whatever alternative it was. But sorry.
All right, here's the thing for me. Can I just say this on a tangent that unrelated to? I fucking hate bodybuilders who put oils on themselves.
No, you can't. You can't say that.
I was gonna say
that.
I
fucking hate that.
I don't want to go on a tangent.
I don't want a bunch of bodybuilders to come in here and try to whoop our ass because of you.
Yeah,
Marlon.
do not say that when
I'm safe.
when
our
friend
people are not, but I'm safe. Anyways, so God of War. It was a great reboot of the series. I feel like it added more lore and added more. I don't know. It brought it to the newer generation of video games, because the old God of War, while great in their own right, they felt kind of stale because there was a lot of games nowadays that kind of try to copy that same genre of just hack and slash and just bloods and gore everywhere. The fact that they made this game more narrative driven and more about the journey as opposed to the actual destination of it. That for me, I just really enjoyed the whole father and son angle of the game. It was done really well because it wasn't about Kratos' wife or Loki's mother. Spoilers. It was about their interactions with each other, and for me, it was a really well done game. I could speak hours upon it, but I'm not, so I'll let you guys continue.
Yeah, not technically a reboot though. I mean, the title would lead you to believe it is, but it's more of a sequel. Right, it is a sequel.
Yeah, I would agree with both actually. It's kind of like
a
no, it's sort of like me taking a cheap shot, not a cheap shot, but just not choosing down, going down the middle, and not saying that Dalton is wrong or Marlon's wrong. I think you guys are both right. I'm actually glad that you guys brought this up about whether or not to reboot, because as a longtime fan of God of War, I've been playing the God of War game since the PS2 days. I love that it didn't throw that history away. It subtly
built
put
on
it. They expanded and built on it, but not overtly. They didn't rely on you knowing everything that happened prior to God of War 2018 for you to enjoy the game. But if you did, and if you had enjoyed those games, it didn't take away anything. If anything, it just furthered your enjoyment of the story, where you can say, hey, this guy, God of War, Kratos, he had a wife, he had a daughter, and he screwed that up. And as a fan of the character, because I know a lot of people hated the character, they've always said he's one-dimensional, and this is true. But as a fan of that character, I was able to say, man, he's had such a great redemption story. He was able to get married. He was able to have a son. He was able to have a family again. He was able to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And that was God of War's, independent of the gameplay and all that stuff.
I feel like
Let's talk about a little bit about. I'm sorry, Marlon. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like a little bit about like, because you said Kratos is kind of a one-dimensional character, right? Like his character development just in that one game alone was insane. Like,
Yeah.
Comparatively to everything before.
Yeah, like that fucking. It was, dude. That was fantastic. Like I know I said already that Red Dead was the narrative of 2018, but that doesn't take away from how amazing the narrative in God of War was too. So.
For me, is when Kratos said to Atreus,
Atreus,
thank you.
Yeah.
Atreus. He basically told him,
when he said,
"I'm
to
sorry."
boy.
It's like, no, it just tells him, "I'm sorry." It's like, no, I don't want you to be sorry. I want you to be better.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
one
for
that
me
I see
was-
quoted online a lot too, which is pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
For me, because it tells you that he is no longer this like, war-minded guy, and now he understands like, there's a balance. There's time when you're supposed to be, go at it and wreak havoc, and times when you're supposed to be cool and collected and just think about what you did, and understand the consequences.
Think, not act. Because
Exactly.
in the other games, he acted and didn't think a lot of his consequences.
So for me, I feel like God of War, for me, in a narrative perspective, I feel like that's what Star Wars should have done. It doesn't take away from the fact what happened with the old movies, but it just builds upon it in a nice, organic way. It doesn't. And for me, the game is just a great game. And if you haven't played it, go ahead, buy it, play it. Especially if you're a dad. Especially if you're a dad. 'Cause that game, it will hit you right on the right course. So
It hits you right in the heartstrings.
So that's my number 4 pick. So
Number 4.
JB, 4th, 5th.
My
What are we gonna call
number
it?
4 is a little unorthodox because I mean we talk about it's from some of the sound of it so far. It's been very large, big games of the year. So far, I guess Titanfall 2 not as much. But my number 4 is Doom, the 2016 reboot.
Nice. That's a great pick. That's a solid pick.
What's funny is I just finished it like a month and a half ago, not even a month and a half ago, to completion. I had played it a little bit when it came out. I never got to the point of having the motivation to play through the rest of it, but I did about a month ago. And just we talked about, reboots and kind of giving a refresh to a franchise. I mean, it is, for me personally, it was that revelation of how Doom basically paved the way for first-person shooters. This cranks that up to 11, and just I mean, there were times where I was playing for like extended periods of time and I was freaking sweating just because it was so intense and so over the top and so just batshit crazy. And I loved every minute of it. And I know we've kind of talked about it in the Discord this week about, because they did the Doom Eternal reveal on Friday with new gameplay. I am beyond excited for that sequel. It is probably going to be my game of the year if it holds up to what we've seen so far. But Doom from 2016 was phenomenal. And
so let me ask you this: are you gonna buy Doom 1, 2, and 3?
I am
surprise release on Switch.
Yeah, just throw out of nowhere, just having those show up, and yeah, not just the Switch. They're on the PS4 now as well.
Right.
And yes, I probably will. I'm definitely want to buy Doom 3 because it's the most modern, and I think it's the one, because I mean I've played the original Doom, I've played Doom 2, I've finished those, but I never finished Doom 3, so I'd like to give that a shot, possibly on the Switch, just because.
Why not, right?
Why not? Exactly, 100%. But
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that's my number 4.
I'm glad that you picked Doom. Just before we move on from it, I got a couple words regarding that game. There wasn't much of a nostalgia factor for me because I didn't play the Doom games growing up. where I didn't play them as much. I don't think I ever played Doom 3 to be honest. I think I played Doom 1 back when I was younger. But no, Jeff hit it right on the head. It was a solid game, and when I first started playing it, I played it sort of like a regular cover shooter, and I love that it wasn't that. Like the game design, I've said it before, but the game design pushes you to get in their face. And I saw this documentary, just real quick shout out to Daniel Dwyer's No Clip, where the creative director Hugo Martin was saying, "No, you're not supposed to play it like that. We deliberately set it up this way, so because you are the Doomslayer. When you see these monsters, you don't get scared. You want to rush in and feast and kill." And I was like, "Oh, that's how the game is supposed to be played. I am the baddest." They're like Rorschach said, "I'm not locked in here with them. They're
They're
locked in
locked in
here
here
with
with
me."
100%. Yep.
And yeah, that's a great pick. I'm glad that you mentioned it.
Absolutely.
Now, my number fifth pick, I'm sounding like Marlon now. My number fourth pick, I think maybe it's an unorthodox one, but it's one that I started 3 different times. I played it with several friends, the last of which was Marlon and my good friend Justin. I loved it. Maybe Marlon, not so much. Dying
No, I
Light.
did not. No, I did not.
Dying Light. That's number 4.
I pretty much assumed that was going to be on your list, Goose.
Absolutely. I looked, I think a couple months back, I looked at the save, and I was north of 90 hours. I couldn't believe it with all 3 playthroughs. It's from Techland, Polish developers. The story isn't really what hooks you, at least for me. Just the gameplay. You can parkour around this huge, amazing city. You kill zombies. You play with friends. You just chit chat. It's one of those games where I remember I would be at work, and I'd think about just getting home and playing it back again. And this theme is going to come up again because my number 1 also elicited these feelings from me. But yeah, Dying Light I really enjoyed. I can't wait for Dying Light 2 and see what they've done with it. It's been close to, I think, 5 years now. I think next year it'll be 5 years.
Yeah, that was early PS4 release.
Yeah, it came out in January
2014.
2015. Was it 2014? I think it was
20. I think it was early 2015. I want to say.
Yeah, January 2015, and I got it on a whim because I'll be honest, it wasn't even on my radar. My friend Lee, quick shout out to Lee, he had played Dead Island's prior games, which were not Dead Island. He had played Techland's prior games, which were the Dead Island games. And he was like, "Hey, dude, you should buy Dying Light. Me and Andrew are going to get it, and we'd like you to get it so you can play with us. It's going to be really fun." I'm like, I'm not sure about it. He's like, "Listen, just watch some gameplay, and even if you don't like the gameplay, still buy it because it's going to be fun playing with us." I'm like, "Fair enough."
Right.
And I got it, and I played it with them. I restarted it again, and I played it with them again because we had put it back down for whatever reason. And then finally, me and Justin and Marlon, we played it through completion. And it's an amazing experience. Marlon had a lot of fun not having the grapple for a couple hours, but then he got it. And we gave him lockpicks to make up for it, right? So that was good. But it was a solid game.
His face, man. Marlon's. Oh, there it is.
That's my number 4th pick.
Number 4. So we're on
Number
the number thirds.
Number thirds.
All
Number
right.
third.
My number 3rd has already been picked on this list, so I'm just gonna say it real quick. We'll go ahead and move on. But number 3 for me is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Whoa.
I believe Jeff mentioned it already. So,
Yep.
yeah, like the same shit you guys said. The open world was a lot of fun. Aloy was a fantastic character. The story was amazing, dude. Like the plot twist at the end was like, holy fuck! Like they're making a sequel to this shit. So, have not played the DLC yet, so I don't know if they tied that story up or not. But,
I
yeah,
played a little bit of
Horizon
the
Zero.
DLC. I never finished it.
Yeah.
It's an addition to. I played it and finished it. It doesn't resolve what we see at the end.
Okay.
Of what we see at the end. It does not resolve that. It's something
It's not like a 0.5.
Yeah. It's to think of it more like a horizontal story branch as opposed to a vertical one.
Okay.
It's not like the epilogue for 2008's Prince of Persia or anything like that.
Correct. Yeah, but actually, not to rehash because Jeff already mentioned it, so we don't want to rehash the same stuff that we rehashed. But I'll ask you, Dalton, is there anything that you're looking forward to in its sequel? Any maybe gameplay mechanics, maybe more different creatures, a bigger world? Like, is there anything that you want out of the sequel that you did get in the first one, but maybe not enough, or you just didn't get it all?
No, because for me the game was almost perfect, dude. Like there was one point, man, I started playing the game, and usually like the first time I play through a game, especially a narrative game, I kind of rush through the story. Not that I'm rushing through the story, but I want to know what the fuck happens. You know what I mean? But this game, man, I was like, I was going through the story, and then I just, for some reason, I started fucking like creeping through the tall grass and shit, and hunting these fucking machines, because the combat was so fucking fun, man. Like I just found myself like just not even for like experience or anything. I'm just killing these fucking things. I'm having such a good time taking these bitches down, and yeah, it's just I don't think there's really anything that I can think of that they could add unless they add more fucking robotic fucking machines. You know what I mean?
T-Rexes.
Right.
What was it? Thunderjaws? Wasn't that what they were called?
The
Yeah,
Thunderjaw, yeah.
they were so fun, dude, and the combat was so fluid, man. Like
Amen.
if you were good, you could fucking dude. It's like all real time, man. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but
I want more story from like the characters in the past. Like,
Yeah.
although the gameplay was fun and I love the
think more flashbacks or just
Yeah,
like
dude.
actually playable.
Yeah.
I would love. No, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Dalton. I want playable sections with like Elizabeth Sobek. I thought she was just such a awesome character. The fact that she had such a big responsibility, where she was being a great manager and supervisor, and telling all these teams around the world, hey, you have to fend off these monsters, these machines, Skynet, let's call it. You have to fend off against Skynet. And she lied to these people. She lied to them. She gave them hope. She said, we're gonna fight because we're gonna live. But she knew that they weren't going to live. She knew that she was sending off these people, Operation Human Shield, let's call it, knowing full well, yeah, knowing full well that every single one of them was going to die, and her last act was to basically kickstart humanity through technology. However, millions of years later, I love her as a character. She was both not selfish, but she did a not nice thing for the greater good, and I would love like a playable section with Elizabeth Sobek.
Yeah, they just have to do it right and not ruin the pacing of the game because Horizon Zero Dawn was pretty fast paced in my opinion. And I feel like those flashbacks they'd have to do it in a way that wouldn't ruin the pacing of the game. So they'd have to figure that out. That's on Guerrilla, obviously. So
That'd be awesome.
Makes sense.
yeah. But Marlon, number third.
You're number third.
My number 3 pick is
Third.
Number
third.
My third pick is Pokemon X and Y for the 3DS. Now,
Wrong.
The 3DS.
third DS? What the fuck are you talking about? What?
The 3DS. That's how you
Yeah,
say
it
it.
is. Let's say 3DS. What are you talking about?
He's fucking with you, dude.
3DS.
He's fucking with you. Don't take the bait.
I'm just messing with you, dude. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm gonna log off now. Fuck you.
Glossing over.
Who invited the IT department anyway?
Okay. Anyways, the reason why it's my number 3 pick is because it was the game that brought me back to Pokemon after a long hiatus. It was the first game that had, for the most part, good 3D graphics that you can enjoy and play and have fun. It had the storyline was your typical Pokemon storyline, so I'm not gonna get into it, but it was the fact that it was something about Kalos that for me it resonated with me in a deeper level than I normally would have done, because it not only just made me want to play Pokemon, it also made me go back and watch the anime, which I hadn't done in almost a decade. So it has a little special place in my heart. It has something that, for me, after a long time of being a Pokemon fan, just enjoy and have fun with my friends playing with it. I was able to go back and actually, breed Pokemon and just went through the entire mechanics of it. Tried to shiny hunt, try to do all the things that I could do in the game. And the fact that I ended up getting a nice black Charizard, I will never forget when I got that shiny Charizard. So I'm happy with that. I'll take that. So that's my number 3 pick. Sack of shit.
Nice.
That's a great pick.
No, it's not.
Psych.
We're both on the same page there.
Yeah, I'm used to it by now.
I 100% understand. Like
I
Pokemon
love
X and
you,
Y was
Marlon.
honestly
we're
what got
fucking with
me.
you, buddy.
No, I
got
don't
me
really
back
care.
into Pokemon after a while too, Marlon. So I 100% understand where you're coming from.
No, I liked X and Y, man. I didn't finish them though. I had a hard time because Marlon said like the story. He was right on the story. It was kind of your typical Pokemon story, and I think the narrative of that particular story kind of suffered a little bit because that was their first one on the 3DS with the 3D graphics and stuff. And as Marlon said, it was fucking amazing. Like seeing that for the first time in 3D was pretty badass. And like the newer ones, Marlon, Sun and Moon, those weren't 3D, right? You couldn't play those in 3D, could you?
No.
So they ended up taking it away.
Mm-hmm. So it was. I feel bad about it because I thought that it was a good thing that you can actually just do through Sarah Connor. Oh my god, what is the name of this stupid thing?
It sounded like you were going to say Sarah Connor.
No.
It did.
3D stereoscopic. I can't remember that.
Stereoscopic 3D.
Stereoscopic 3D. So for me, it was one of those things that I just really enjoyed about it. But the thing, like Dalton said, the storyline suffered for it because after coming out, just a great storyline from Black and White, and dealing with this, it was so lackluster. So that's the only bad thing that I can give the game, because Black and White, I played it, I enjoyed the story, but I didn't do a lot of it, of the end game and stuff like that. X and Y, I did everything I could because I just wanted to just enjoy getting all my Pokemon ready for competition and just enjoying and watching and playing that. That's for me. That's why my number 3 pick.
Number third, you said it right.
Pick.
No, you said
I'm
it right.
actually glad. I'm glad you added a 3DS game to your list too, because I'll be straight up honest with you. I don't have any 3DS or PS Vita games on my list, so.
Because they all suck. Because they all suck and they stink, and I don't like them.
Because you don't have one. You're too poor.
Good pick though, Marlon.
This is true. I am very poor. This is very true. I am the poorest guy out of all of us. I'm very poor. This is true.
He's poor-minded.
So. good number 3rd, Marlon.
Anywho's.
Yeah.
My number 3rd. We've already mentioned on here, so I won't take up a lot of time with it. Is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
I mean, it was funny because I know we had a conversation and we've talked about this before on the show, but like when I first started playing that game, I could not get into it. I was like, man, this like opening is a slog, and then when you hit that first springtime, when you finally set up your camp and everything, and you start going out in the world and really seeing the character development. That's my biggest thing of why this game is so high up for me. Arthur Morgan, in my opinion, is one of the best written characters, I think, in a video game ever, period.
Yeah.
I think just his arc is so relatable and so just believable, like it's a real person. I mean, we talk about video games, but at the end of the day, they're not real people. But his story felt like a real person story arc
Relatable.
In the Wild West.
Yeah,
relatable, exactly. So I loved that character, and I ended up just absolutely adoring that game. I've been actually wanting to go back and play through it again.
Me too.
But I haven't gotten around to that yet. But
PC.
I'm sure it'll eventually come to PC. I mean,
It
GTA
will.
5 did after a while, so
Yeah, like 3 years, I think.
yeah. But yeah, it was a phenomenal game.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. I love it. I love the pick.
Yeah,
So-
Red Dead Redemption. I'm glad that you placed it higher than I did, because it was a little torturous for me putting it in 5th place. I even considered not putting it at all. I considered it just not, I didn't know we were going to have memorable mentions, so I considered it just not having it at all. But I'm like, no, it needs to place on my list, and I put it in 5th place. So I'm glad that you put it
Real
higher.
quick, how many honorable mentions are we allowed to have?
5 tops.
Okay, perfect. All right, Goose, what's your number 3rd?
My number 3rd pick and it's one that I love this game, man. I'm gonna you guys know that it needed to be on this list. I played it in
Tacoma.
June. No, Tacoma is not on the list. Tacoma's not on any of that. I love Tacoma. Fulbright, I love you, but it's not.
If Tacoma's not his number one, I'm quitting the show.
It's not. It's not on the list. Tacoma's not even a memorable mention. But no, I'm glad you mentioned Tacoma because now I can give it its due without having it on any of my lists. That's a great thing.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you
It's
Stablo.
It's Assassin's Creed Origins.
We've got 2 Assassin's Creed games on this list.
Yep,
Because
yep,
the 2 best Assassin's Creed games they've ever made.
absolutely.
And it's funny, before you go into why, man, it's funny because you picked Assassin's Creed Origins. You have not played Odyssey.
Correct.
I picked Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I have not played Origins.
This is
so
true.
we both need to get around to.
We need to fix that.
I've played both, and honestly, I liked Odyssey more, but that's my personal opinion.
Right.
I'm-
But they're both
yeah.
fantastic.
Dalton has told
Yes.
me that I like Odyssey better, and I'm pretty sure you guys are right. I just got to get around to playing it. But I've said the story before. I'll say it again. I took a week off in June, not to play games, just to play anything, and I started playing this game on a Friday, and I didn't let up. I mean, I was like a kid. I would wake up early in the morning, 7:30, 7 o'clock. I'd brush my teeth, I'd shower, and I'd go right back to bed, or I'd sit on my computer chair and I would play this game for hours on end. I got sucked into the world. I like the character of Bayek. Egypt. I mean, this was it was an open world game, yes, but they remade an entire country, and it just ticked all the right boxes of like the OCD that hits me in terms of I have to collect this and I have to do that, and I was mapping all around the world, and just it's an open world RPG. But one of the coolest things about it is that it level gates you in a way, depending on your settings, where you can see the open world and you can see, well, you should tackle this part of Egypt when you're this level, and you should tackle this part when you're this level. And it got to the point where I did everything that I could in a region, and then by the time that I went to the other region, I was already over leveled. So by the time the game was coming to its conclusion, I was just knocking the crap out of everybody. I was a master at that game, and I enjoyed being in that setting. I enjoyed being in Egypt. I enjoyed going into its murky, dirty waters. I enjoyed killing alligators. I enjoyed setting hippos on fire. I enjoyed climbing the pyramids and just seeing everything that there was to marvel at. I seriously considered putting it as my number 1, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. The guys are going to look at me funny. But I loved my time.
Personal list, man.
True. I loved my time with that game. I loved it so much, for the listeners out there, I buy everything. And I buy all the DLCs, but I rarely go back. I went back for this game. I went back to the DLC.
100% trophy completion.
Yeah.
Yes. And I loved my time with the DLC. I love the fact that you had like these mercenaries that you could take out for particular sets of gear or weapons, and moreover, and I would taunt them. I would beat the crap out of them once I knew that I was over leveled. I rarely used fast travel, which is like a telltale sign for me when I'm enjoying my time with the game, right? Like I'm not rushing through to finish. I was like, no, I'm taking my time. I don't want this experience to end. I would even take photos in the photo mode, something that I rarely do in games because I'm not good at it and I don't find it fun. But I actually did that in Assassin's Creed Origins. Yeah, it's my number 3. It's one of the best games and one of my favorite games that I played this generation. I love that game.
I love it. I love that you picked that. I'm actually glad you put it on your list because I was actually worried for a little bit that you weren't going to, because I've heard you talk about that game over the last year now, a little over a year now. And I'm glad you put it on there. I thought you were gonna fuck it out of a spot on the list. So I'm glad you didn't.
I couldn't.
I'm glad you didn't.
I'm gonna fuck some games out of my list. I'll tell you that. So
Yeah,
That's
it was
part of
tough to
making
come
the-
up with just 5.
Yeah.
So are we on to number 2s?
yes.
Yeah, you're number
Yes,
2nd.
sir.
Number
All
6.
right.
Oh, come on, give it a rest. Will,
So
yeah.
just a real quick recap for the listeners, we're all going to do our number 2s, and then we're going to take a slight pause and reverse course and do another round robin for our 5 memorable mentions.
Yeah, we'll do like, it doesn't have to be in any particular order. I put mine in order, so we'll do like a 10 through 6, but and just go from there. But yeah, so my second pick, number 2, is The Witcher 3.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, this game, man, I bought it in May of 2015 when it came out, when it launched, and unfortunately, I was working at the time, so I started it and I didn't really get into it. And that winter, man, when I got laid off, I played it start to finish. I didn't platinum it or anything. I didn't go for that, but I played it. I played the story my way. You know, it was just so fucking good, man. The options, the not even so much the character development, because Geralt is like the same guy. You know what I mean? He's the same guy all the way through. That's what I loved about him. He's like this is who the fuck I am. I'm not changing. Like I'm gonna fight and do exactly what I've been doing this whole fucking time, whether you like it or not. And you had to respect him for that, right? So
Yeah.
And I don't want to give too much away, because if you haven't played it, I know it's a 4.5-year-old game at this point almost, and if you haven't played it, you really should. But if you haven't, I don't want to spoil it, because it's one of those games that you should experience for yourself. But yeah, dude, narrative.
I want to go back.
Have you finished it, Jeff?
No, I only played I would say probably about 10 to 15 hours of it.
That's not enough.
It came out it came out right after my daughter was born, and then I broke my ankle a few weeks later. So I was up at my parents' house. I didn't have access to my games that much. I kind of fell off the wagon with it, and then I've never gotten back, unfortunately.
Time flies, bro. That's crazy. Time flies so fast.
Still holds up though. It's not early, but it's a fairly early game in the generation. I mean, it was the first Witcher to come to the PlayStation consoles. I believe The Witcher 2 was on Xbox 360.
Correct.
So it's not the first console Witcher game, but yeah, it was just, I played it on PS4 originally. I've repurchased it for PC, and I've been playing through it again, and it's still amazing, dude. The narrative, the open world is still beautiful to this day, man. A game that came out 4 years ago, so it holds up, dude. I know it's still this generation, but
CD Projekt.
I got one word.
Really good
building.
Making those open.
I got one word for you. Cyberpunk.
Technically two.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's a compound word. It's one.
AEG game of the show for E3 this year.
Hell no, it was not. It was not. All right.
Yeah, it was.
No, that would be Zelda Breath of the Wild too.
I'm the leader.
No,
the founder.
We're not there.
The fucking
so
gangster of this. It is Cyberpunk 2077.
If you are not in the show, your opinion does not matter. So
yeah, you guys got me there. I was not on the show.
So here's the thing for me. My friend Justin was asking, because we were talking about The Witcher 3, not The Witcher 3, but The Witcher Netflix series, and they were talking about, like, what about the game? Is the game good? I told him, listen, have you played Skyrim? And lo and behold, Justin tells me, no, I have not played Skyrim. How you not play Skyrim, a game that is right now about 8-9 years old? I don't know what to tell you. But I was telling him that the map is massive. It's a 3.5 times larger than, I believe, what Skyrim used to be, and I think it's 1.5 larger than GTA 5. So there's so many things to do in that game that either you just enjoy the hell out of it, or you can get overwhelmed like I did, because this is what happened to me. I started playing that game because after playing Witcher, I had just finished playing Dark Souls 2, and I said to myself, you know what? This game, I beat Dark Souls 2. I'm a badass. I can do this. So I crank up the difficulty all the way up. Dude, I got killed.
You played it on Death March?
Yes.
Oh, dude.
I was like, nope. I got killed by a wolf. I'm done. I'm not playing this thing. I spent 5 hours stuck on the first fucking level when Geralt was just basically getting out of his horse and just walking into the field. I spent 5 hours on that because I was like, I gotta kill that wolf. I gotta kill those motherfuckers. And nope, I was not getting there. So if you're gonna play The Witcher 3, I would suggest putting it on the lower difficulties, not the higher difficulties. That's just one thing that I learned.
So The Witcher 3 is number 2. It missed the cut. It did not get number 1. Which arguably The Witcher 3, I mean, I think Jeff and Marlon, who have played the game, I know Gus has not played the game, but Jeff and Marlon have.
Wait, Witcher 3?
see. Yeah.
Yeah, I put about 50 hours into it. I just didn't finish it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the argument could be made that like this is like not just a personal opinion or anything. That could be a game of the generation. Like it could
There's
be.
a lot of people that hold it in that regard. Absolutely.
Exactly, yeah. While it is not my number one, I would not be disappointed if for some unofficial poll came around and was like, yeah, this is game of the generation.
Not unlike a small Nintendo game called Breath of the Wild.
2.
We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, we will.
But yeah, Jeff, fucking yeah, we will, motherfucker. But yeah, that is my number 2. Marlon.
For number 2, I was undecided between one of my most beloved franchises, one that I love dearly and probably has made me the gamer that I am. But that game is not from this generation. That game is from last generation. So I cannot add it, even though it was brought up to this generation.
What game is that?
Are you talking about Destiny?
Wait.
Because Destiny is not.
No.
Wait. Is this your number 2?
This is your number 2. Okay.
No. My number 2 pick is Monster Hunter World, and I was debating between Monster Hunter World.
No, you can't say which one the first one is.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Oh,
Listen.
Sorry.
I was debating between this one and one for my honorable mentions. Okay. It was between Dark Souls 3 and Monster Hunter World. Now, even though they brought up Dark Souls to the PS4, I, in good conscience, cannot put this one as my most, beloved for this generation because it was from an older generation. But Monster Hunter World is probably the closest I've gotten to Capcom nailing the Monster Hunter genre. If you are a Monster Hunter aficionado, this game is what you always wanted to play with. In high definition, the best graphical that you can see from a Monster Hunter game, because most of them were either for 3DS or for PS Vita or PSP, or for the Nintendo Wii and Wii U. So graphical wise, HD 1080p graphics, not really what you're looking for in those type of consoles. This one brought everything into the forefront. They fixed some of the issues that we always had with, drinking poisons in the middle of the battles. They did away with just a lot of the negative aspects of the older games, and they just refreshed it and made it better. Iceborne, when September comes, I cannot wait to play that. That is what we call expansion level stuff. That's what we're talking about when somebody tells you, oh, we're playing an expansion, this is what we're talking about. New monsters, new levels, everything that you wanted for, and you're gonna have a fucking good time.
Hell yeah.
That's my number 2 pick, Monster Hunter World, and I play like 500 hours on it, so it tells you something.
I'm actually really glad, like the way you're talking about it. I'm really glad you've gone into it like that, because especially for a game like that has this whole series behind it, like for you to talk about it like a new release, like, and it was the general consensus too amongst longtime fans that this game is fucking amazing, and it's kind of rare that you see a sequel like that. Not necessarily a sequel, but I don't know if it's a sequel. I've never really played the other ones, but it's rare that you see a new release in a longtime franchise and people like generally love it. Like, you know what I mean? So the way you talk about it is actually really awesome. And I'm glad
universally love it.
Yeah.
100%.
Before we move on from Monster Hunter World, the thing about it to me, and I think I heard it, it was on the Easy 8 podcast, and it just blew my mind. This statistic blew my fucking mind. Like we got Capcom, right? It's known for Mega Man. It's known for Devil May Cry. It's known for
Resident Evil.
It's known for Resident Evil. And this just blew my fucking mind. Monster Hunter World is the best-selling Capcom game ever of all time. Period. Cannot be disputed. I said, what?
Yep. And we're talking about Resident Evil 4. We're talking about Mega Man 1, 2, 3, 4. We're talking about genres that are beloved and that have been on the market for decades. And this, release of a beloved franchise that's being, upgraded to, the 8th generation consoles. It's everything that we ever wanted. And when we saw Iceborne come out, it was like they were doubling down on what we wanted. Like bringing back the old favorites. Nagakuga we're getting back. We're getting freaking... It's just something that it shows that when it comes to Capcom, they could do a lot of crap they have done with Mega Man, and we know that they have
done a lot of crap with a lot of their franchises, honestly.
But with this one, I feel like they treated it with respect, and I think that's what a lot of the fans really enjoyed about it, because this one was, and it shows on the sales. It shows that they took their time and they crafted a really well put game.
I knew that it was a good game when it pulled Marlon from another game that will remain nameless for now, and he was just in it. I'm like, whoa, Marlon is really into this game a lot. He's playing it all the time, and he's an encyclopedia. I'm like, yeah, this is good.
It was nice to see something next to his name on PSN that wasn't said game, said other
Correct.
game.
Oh,
really was.
We'll be talking about that later on. Trust me. So.
Oh yes, we will.
We'll be bringing out the garbage cans next time.
Say that garbage can may be a garbage can, but that garbage can is made out of gold and diamonds. Okay, so fuck
Still
you,
holds a bunch of shit. But
the shit that turned to coal, that turned to diamonds.
let's fucking just go with this back and forth for the rest of the episode.
Let's do it.
Are we on to Jeff's number 2?
Yeah, my number 2.
He's committed to that. I love it.
one we've already talked about as well. So I'm not gonna go super into it. Is God of War.
Fuck yeah.
Just a beautiful, riveting experience. And Marlon said it best when he said, "If you're a dad, play this game." I mean, I have a daughter, not a son, so it didn't have all of the dynamic of that. But I still, having a child and trying to teach them things and go on this, journey with them was super amazing, and I loved every fucking second of it.
Fuck yeah, dude. And I just want to add real quick that my son was born literally 19 days before this game came out last year. So it hit me heavy. I didn't play it until like November, or October, November. Whenever the fuck I played it.
Like right
it was
when you
literally
got
right
off.
after Red Dead. Yeah, I played Red Dead and then I played God of War.
Yeah, that would have been like end of October, early November.
Yeah.
What a great fucking gaming just
Nirvana.
Nirvana. Seriously.
Dude, man, that month was crazy.
Yeah,
I remember. God, dude, that month was crazy, man. Now that I think about it.
I love the pick. God of War at number 2. I respect that wholeheartedly. Even though
you won't respect my number 1.
No, I already know what it is, and I don't respect it. And I'll probably honestly, once I say my number 1, leave the episode. But no, I respect it, and I know Gustavo fought for it. That was our AEG game of the year. Goose gets credit for that because I on me left myself. But the more I think about it,
battle though.
No, it wasn't. But
like no revisionist history here.
Yeah, no shit. Jesus.
But no, it was game of the year, and it was a great pick for game of the year, and it's a great pick at number 2. It should be your number 1. But moving on, I respect it. I really do.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Unless Jeff's got more to add.
I'm good.
Yeah, God of War is a great game. My number 2 pick it's the only non-AAA game that I have on my list. I'm kind of a little embarrassed that my list and my memorable mentions don't have enough AAA games. But it's Playdead's Inside. The game came out in 2016. Playdead, the developers of Limbo. I hadn't played Limbo at the time. I hadn't played any of the games, And I came across this game through IGN's podcast Unlocked. Ryan McCaffrey, he just talked it up and he said how it was a pretty good game before it came out. And it came out, it was $20 and I got it for $10 because just a quick backstory on how I got it. I was going to get it regardless, but Microsoft had made a mistake with Fallout, I think, and they sold it for free. And I, knowing me, you guys know how I am. I got the notification from Wario. I downloaded it. I got it. And then like a couple days later, Microsoft deactivated the license because they weren't supposed to sell that game for free. And they're like, hey, as a token of our appreciation and for screwing up, we're going to give you a $10 credit. So I took it and I saved it and then played it. And then Inside came out and I was like, I'm buying this game. I bought it. And I think it's the only game this generation that I finished on my first sitting. I think it was about 5-6 hours long. I sat down on this very chair. Well, no, I had another computer chair. I sat down on my old computer chair, and I didn't put the game down. I played it right through. So for the listeners, it's a puzzle platformer adventure. Sorry, somebody said something.
I was just gonna say, I believe you played it on the now defunct Gus's Treasures.
Did I? I think I did. I have to watch that playthrough again. I think I'm gonna watch that tonight. Watch that on our YouTube channel, folks. Watch that on our YouTube channel, folks. Gus's Treasures. I think I did. I think I do a complete playthrough of that. But the first time I played it, I fell in love with that game. I hate the argument. Oh, thanks, Jeff. I hate the argument of where the games are art. Games are art, right? There's no reason to even have that debate. But just the art style, the visual aesthetic, how creepy the little kid was. It's a 2.5D platformer. The little girl, the little ghost girl in the water when you were in the tank, just the atmosphere that game exuded. I remember I thought I was safe, being in the little tank, but I really wasn't if I gave her my back. Oh my God, I'm trying to put into words just how awesome this game was. If you haven't played this game.
I just played it like 2 months ago when I was on vacation in May. That was one of the games. I'm gonna just kind of chip away at my backlog, and that was one of the ones. It was like $5 on Xbox. It was on sale, so I was just like, "Fuck it, let's give this a shot." And I played through it. I played through it in like 2 sittings. It was like I took a break to go eat.
And you hadn't played it before, right?
I had never played it before up until that point.
Oh, dude.
I didn't know any spoilers. I knew nothing.
That's great. What'd you think of the ending?
It was insane. I was not expecting it whatsoever, and it was heartbreaking, but just ridiculous at the same time.
It was so abstract. The name of the game is Inside, but you ostensibly end up on the outside at the end of the game. There's like this molten glob of human parts that's in this lab. And that's like
Marlon's
the monster towards the end. Marlon, you have to play this game, dude. Or watch.
You
can watch
should,
my
man.
stream over at the AEG channel on YouTube. You can watch that as well. Gus's Treasures. You should watch it.
If I wanted to play a version of Evangelion, I would do it. Okay. Somebody who watched actually anime would understand that. But
the muted colors, the sort of George Orwell 1984 totalitarian regime that they're living in. People are being taken over by these parasitic type of worms. There's even like these little chiclets that you have not a mini game, but there's a puzzle that you have to solve with these little chiclets in a barn. You have to pull a parasite out of a hog's ass. It's a crazy fucking game.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Batshit insane. So weird.
That's my number 2. It was always my number 2. So just real quick before we move on to our memorable mentions, when I started my list, the first game that I wrote down, because I wrote a whole bunch of games, but the very first one that I wrote down on my PC was Inside, and I don't know why, but as soon as I wrote it down, like I stopped after a couple of minutes, and I remember I took a highlighter on my computer and I just dashed it across. I was like, I need to talk about this because I don't know why. Like it was just serendipity for whatever reason. But that was the first one that I wrote down.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just it is just so memorable.
Yeah.
And that's 100% why.
I was like, I was a little like into it in terms of not my feelings, but just my thought process. I'm like, why the fuck did I write this game down? And probably there's no reason behind it. It was just that was the first one that I wrote down, but that stuck with me. Like, whoa, this is the first one that I wrote down. You guys got to play this game. I used to say play Tacoma. Tacoma's great. Play Inside.
Inside Tacoma.
Inside.
You know what
Okay.
though?
really close
I
to the mic there.
I will play it because I actually take pride in this. I have a lot of buddies that tell me like if a game means a lot to them, they want me to play it. I usually get around to playing it for sure because I want everyone to play Final Fantasy X. Like I do. I want it taught in schools. I've said that multiple times. So I
When you taught in school how to laugh like Titus. Ha ha
But-
ha ha ha.
that's not even the laugh though, Marlon.
I know.
I'm not doing it though.
Can-
But
come on.
Could
you
have
do
to
it?
have every way to
Could
do
you do it? Could you do it? Could you pull it off?
probably, yeah.
Do it. You got to do it now.
I don't have to do shit. It's
the end of my
cringy
life.
as fuck. It's like
Exactly.
it's part of the game that like it's horrible, but I love the game so much, and it's such like a nostalgia trip hearing that, and it's a big joke on the internet, and I understand why for sure, but it's just
Actually,
it's something that I'd be pissed if they removed.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here, and I know you're gonna love this, listeners. In the future, whether near or far, we are going to have an all Final Fantasy X episode. What does this do? It forces us to have the episode because we've announced it. You're gonna hear this in the future, and it forces me to have to play it now. Fuck.
Yeah.
I bought it for you. I
That's
gifted
right.
it
That
to
would
you.
be.
I gotta be part of the conversation.
And this is something that we can just add at the end of the episode for Final Fantasy X, if we are doing it, because we are doing it, is all four of us will try to imitate Titus's laugh at the end.
Boom. Okay.
As
like
a
that.
nice send-off for the episode. Leave it
And
like
we'll
that.
just
Yeah,
end
we're gonna-
it. We won't say anything after the laughs either, and just fucking end it.
There you go.
We're gonna have to figure out when we want to do this, Goose. That's
Yeah.
a good idea, though. I like that where we all play the same game and like.
We'll do
Have it
multiple
just
episodes like that.
Yeah.
It's like a game
There's-
club.
That's
Yeah,
an idea we
there's
just came
yeah,
up with.
there's
right online.
a podcast that I used to listen to. It's called like I don't remember what it's called, but they basically all play the same game in parts. Like they're like, all right, so we're gonna get a quarter of the way through the game and then do an episode, and then halfway through the game and then do an episode, so on and so forth. But yeah, it's kind of like a book club, but for
Yeah.
video games. Yeah,
Sweet.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I like it.
that's a good idea.
So we are now on
You
to.
heard it.
Yeah, we just came up with this. We riffed this right on an episode.
Yes.
But
How
we
we
are
roll.
now we are now on to our honorable mentions, or as Gus calls them, memorable mentions. 'Cause he
I like
likes
memorable
alliteration.
mentions actually better.
It's got alliteration to it. I like it too. I think and everyone uses honorable mentions, so I like it. We'll do our memorable mentions, and I'm gonna start off. I'm just gonna go right down the list. I labeled mine 10 through 6. These are our other 5 games. It doesn't have to be in this order, but this is kind of the order that I felt they should be in. So, number 10 is Red Dead 2. Number 9 is God of War. Number 8 is Destiny. Number 7, Destiny 1, by the way. I want to point that out. Number 7 is Uncharted 4. Loved it. And number
That almost
6.
made my list.
Yeah, and number 6, I'm a little embarrassed, as Goose said, that I don't have any indie titles on my list, but I do have one in my honorable mentions, and that is Celeste. And since I am your big dick daddy, I have broken the rules a little bit, and I'm putting a totally not legal honorable or memorable mention on my list, and that is a remake, and that is Shadow of the Colossus. It's
Oh,
not
that's
legal
fair.
because it's
That's
a remake.
fair. That's fair.
It's not this
That's
gen.
fair.
It's not legal, but I break the rules a little bit, and I'm adding it.
I think Will allowed. He's like, I'm gonna break.
Yeah, that
rank.
game's-
I'm gonna pull rank, and I'm gonna drop this big dick and cause a power outage. Shadow of the
And
Colossus.
guess what game didn't even make the memorable mentions? Guess what game didn't
Yeah,
even make it?
yeah.
Didn't even make it.
But you know what did make our E3 game of the show 2019? Breath of the Wild 2.
I don't think so. I didn't hear it, so I don't know. I don't believe it.
If you didn't listen, it doesn't exist.
No, it's not real. So yeah, those are my memorable mentions.
Are there any in particular that was it hard for you to
Reject
create?
the reality and substitute my own.
Yeah, it was tough to leave some of those games off the list. But this is me personal. This is the games that I felt like looking back that I enjoyed the most with my time, and they could have been in my top 5. I think.
Were there any in there that were originally in your top 5 and you substituted out?
Yes. God of War was in my top 5. Red Dead was in my top 5. Destiny was in pretty much all of them. I actually had Celeste at number 5 at one point. So
Nice. That would have been a good pick too.
I just bumped them out. Just because personal experience, personal enjoyment out of these games. So.
Nice. Those are solid picks.
But yeah, Marlon.
Marlon, what's your 5 memorable mentions?
My memorable mentions. It is on a great honor to say this.
What accent are you
Oui, croissant, French
Croissant, I
fry,
believe.
French toast.
It is on French toast, I believe.
Crepe.
I thought they were freedom fries. It's America.
We don't eat.
You better
We
be
don't
careful, French listeners, because we're gonna tax the shit out of you shortly.
You're such an ass.
How about this one?
All right.
Tarifs.
My memorable mentions are this. So, okay, so here's the one. I love the Vita. Okay, that console has a special place in my heart. Okay, I wish that Sony would have not fucked it up like the way that they did, because a lot of my memorable mentions are from the Vita. Final Fantasy X Vita Edition. Okay, Uncharted Golden Abyss, Rayman Legends. Okay, Fez. Those are 4 memorable mentions from the Vita alone that I just really fucking love. It was what the Switch is, what the Vita should have been. Okay, the Switch is what the Vita should have been from the get-go, and Sony fucked that up. So
yeah, that's a topic for another episode, though, for sure.
That's actually a really good topic for another.
I
episode.
agree. I agree, Marlon. I agree.
They just basically gave lackluster support for the Vita, and a lot of the games that we thought that were gonna have a console, a proper balls to the wall console on a handheld, and we never got it onto the Switch. My last honorable mention is kind of like a given, it's Dark Souls / Bloodborne, because those both games are basically what I enjoyed about video games when it comes to just difficulty. It is organic difficulty that is not about just tough enemies and just unsurmountable issues and problems. It's something that if you are good in the game, you can beat it. And it is not like some cheap motherfucker who's like, oh yeah, well, you're supposed to beat this guy with a specific weapon, otherwise you're never gonna beat him. No, it's you could go in there with a ladle, for crying out loud, and beat the game. It's about skill and about there's in Dark Souls 2 you can beat the game with a ladle. An actual freaking ladle. So,
and I'm sure there are people that have done that.
Oh, they done it. And
I need a ladle?
Yeah, ladle.
I just want to point out
this one go.
Yeah, so was I. I just want to point out that Marlon said "fuck you" to my rank, and by adding another game too, he added Bloodborne and Dark Souls. He's like, "Fuck your rank, I'm adding an extra game too," and I respect it.
I noticed that he didn't say that. I was like, oh. He's
like, I respect it.
I got a big dick that causes power outages too.
But in Ohio, not New York. So, look at this, man. The Vita really got fucked over. And we could make the argument that it was ahead of its time. You could make the argument that the market wasn't there.
I just love how he hijacked this into a fucking pro Vita conversation. That's what I love about it, right?
I know. But think about it. Like, my memorable mentions are Uncharted Golden Abyss, a great Uncharted game that came out for the Vita. Fez, a great little...
Not to get into it, but one of the funny things that I do, the games that you mentioned besides the one exclusive, which was Uncharted, are really one of the reasons the Vita failed. It was a fucking port machine, dude. You mentioned all ports.
I know. But it was the thing about those ports is that the ports were the best way you could play those games. In my opinion.
I believe Marlon that the Vita is the only one that had Final Fantasy VIII on it. Actually, the PS3 might have as well, but the PS4 did not.
Yeah.
Yes,
PS3
through
not.
PS1 emulation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
So-
could play. And the thing
up
that
until when it
that made
comes
me
out
enjoy
later
the
this
most about
year.
the Vita was the fact that you could play Final Fantasy X, play it, and then if you wanted to, you can go
Handheld.
port it handheld, and then port it to your PS3 or PS4, because if you wanted to play that on the console. And
Dude, I had such an erection when I was playing that on my Vita. Like handheld Final Fantasy X, dude, just
His
fucking.
dick was holding it up.
It
Yeah.
was, dude. I had a little stand equipped to the tip, man, and it was just holding the shit.
with the
So,
with the nipple joysticks, was that
Yeah,
what?
so, like,
The nipple joysticks.
Oh,
playing
Best of
that
both
game
worlds.
on a portable machine, something I thought would never have been possible fucking 15 years prior. You know what I mean? So great picks, Marlon. Good shout out to the Vita. So Jeff.
All right. I'm also gonna keep this trend going of 6 honorable mentions, and my number 11 is Final Fantasy 15.
Glad you included it.
My number 10 is Devil May Cry 5.
Okay. Good.
My number 9 is Super Mario Odyssey, which
Fuck yeah.
surprisingly nobody said yet. My number 8 is Kingdom Hearts 3. My number 7 is Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Whoa! I don't know what your number 1 is.
Yeah, for real. That threw me off.
And then
This is
my
the exact
number-
reason why Dalton wanted this segment.
Yep. And then my number 6 is Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus.
I'm so floored right now.
Yep.
I'm happy. I'm so happy. Like,
He's like,
I'm
"Fuck
so-
you, Link."
the fuck? Because I was like,
I'm
what the hell
so
is going on here?
happy right now. Like I've never been more proud to be a part of this show than I am right now. So
Burn.
This guy's
Real quick, I want to say real quick. I actually this weekend, I literally just a few hours ago, finished Wolfenstein Youngblood. I played it in 2 sittings.
that's
So
awesome.
the one that literally just came out Friday. That franchise is fucking ridiculous, and the where they're taking that series from this point forward is super fun. But Wolfenstein 2 is easily the best of the franchise so far.
It's good that you mentioned that because I don't want to get into it because that's a different episode. But Young has been getting mediocre reviews.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's
glad you
it's
liked
a
it.
sevens. It's a sevens machine.
So, yeah,
As some say, there are aspects of it I don't care for. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it motivated me to finish it to the end. The thing that I think most people are pissed about is the microtransactions on it, which that's another topic for another day. But yeah, I recommend it. It's only $30.
Jeff,
I mean, you really
just
can't go wrong.
one honorable mentions.
Because I put Breath of the Wild in it and not my main list. Oh, all right.
No,
Well,
I'm
those
just
are
fucking with you,
those are
man.
my memorable
You did-
mentions.
You did
Goose,
throw me off.
follow that motherfucker.
Oof. I'm not gonna lie, the memorable mentions were a little tough because I pulled them out of my ass. I did not put a list away of what I had done.
Marlon.
I just had my top 5 and that was it. But it was relatively easy to come up with 5. It was relatively easy to come up with 5 memorable mentions in no particular order, and I'm just gonna stick to 5. I'm gonna rattle some of them off, and I'm gonna linger on others. So, God of War, we've talked about it. That's one memorable mention. My second one
I'm
is.
thrown off now too.
You're what was that? Oh, you're thrown
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, I thought that
I'm
was
a
gonna be
little
your
thrown
number.
off. too.
Hell no. No, I love God of War, but it's not number 1. Another one, it's Forza Horizon 3. I had a lot of fun playing that game. I don't know how many hours I spent. I'd say probably north of 50 hours. But the Hot Wheels expansion was what brought me back. And what Playground Games has done with the Forza series, like, again, don't worry, Dalton, I'm not going to dupe on the simulation. But the simulation games are for a very particular hardcore crowd. And like for folks who know their shit when it comes to racing, like the best of the best of the best, sir.
With
But
honors.
with honors. Yes. That's good. But like for like the casual folks like me who just want to have like an arcade like fun experience, I think Playground elevated the Forza franchise to heights unseen before.
Once I started it, yeah. Oh my god.
And I love being in Australia down under. I love the Hot Wheels expansion. I had so much fun playing that game, and for me, it really started with Forza Horizon 2, which took place like in the French Riviera, and then they've continued it with Forza Horizon 4. So it's just quality after quality after quality. It's like clockwork. Every 2 years, you can expect a quality Forza Horizon game.
Yeah.
My other one, I sort of like it for the same reason that I like God of War, which was Uncharted: The Lost Legacy.
So
Um,
good.
I debated having this one on the list. This is the one that I debated. I debated putting this on number 5. I actually thought of dropping Red Dead Redemption 2 for this. I'm
Wow.
glad I didn't, but I loved Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. It does nothing new. It's the same formula. I personally think it's better than Uncharted 4 only because it cuts the fluff, right? It cuts all of the meandering that I think that Uncharted, all the padding that I think that Uncharted 4 and just gives us the good parts, right? It's
I
just,
can get
hey,
behind you on that.
yeah, it's just, hey, we're going to give you 8 to 10 hours of Uncharted gameplay and you're going to like it. But my favorite thing about it was that it it could do Uncharted without Nate Drake. It proved
Yeah.
it didn't need Nate Drake to be a fun Uncharted game, and that's what I fucking loved about it.
It was
The
fantastic.
quips and the.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that also stems from your personal bias against Nolan North, but
Uh, no, I like Nolan North. Nolan North will always be Nate Drake to me, which is why he's not Iron Man at all. Sorry. But no, yeah, the Uncharted: The Lost Legacy was a fucking amazing game. And then the last two, I'm gonna linger on one in particular, but Mad Max, fucking loved it. It does nothing. It does nothing spectacular. Everything it does is either mediocre to solid. It's an open world game. It fucking cribs from Batman Arkham Asylum when it comes to the combat system. It cribs from Assassin's Creed games when it comes to opening the world map. But it was a barren wasteland, and it was a straight up 7.5, no more than that. But I love being in that open wasteland. I love being in that world. It was another Assassin's Creed Origins and another number one when my number one comes up, where I would be at work and I'd be thinking about playing Mad Max. I'm like, I'm gonna tackle Gastown, and I'm gonna tackle this other town, and I'm gonna unlock this, and I'm gonna unlock that, and I'm gonna get this upgrade, and I'm
that's
gonna.
one I'm really sad that even though they did give it away on PlayStation Plus for free, I've started it, but I've never gotten deep into it.
Oh, I got lost. Unfortunately, I didn't finish it. I don't know how close I am to finishing it. So the whole map is red, like showcasing what you have to do, and like almost all of it is now white, except I think for Gastown. And one of the coolest things about the game is when you start off, everything you can see, you can go to, not unlike Assassin's Creed Origins. I remember I was all the way like in the south side, the southern part of the map, and you see these fucking gas funnels, and you see this fire and all that stuff, and I'm like, whoa, that's a pretty cool fucking background, a pretty cool scene. But no, you get in a car and you can fucking drive up there, and when you get there and you see those funnels that were up in the air all the way back in the south, and you see them when you're up there, you're like, whoa, I just drove about 40 minutes to get here in real time. Probably a little less, maybe 20 minutes. But still, I drove 20 real life minutes to get here, and this place exists. This is fucking awesome. The car combat is amazing. The combat against the enemies feels crunchy. That's the best descriptor. That's the best adjective that I can think of. You can literally feel when you break their bones in their face. And then my final memorable mention, and this wasn't hard. This was another one that I also debated. I debated having this fourth. I had this as my fourth pick instead of Dying Light. But then I decided that Dying Light was a better game, and I just played it recently with Jeff in one of our the Grind episodes. State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 does nothing special. It's full of jank. It has bugs.
Fun.
It
I
looks
kept-
so fun.
It's so fucking fun.
I kept falling through the world for whatever reason. Jeff's game world was like leaky, and I just kept falling right through it.
Did
But that
you,
game,
did you go back and watch me with
saw
that
the whole
damn
thing.
fucking? You saw the truck? You saw what I did with the truck?
dude, I don't know what you was doing.
I don't know what I was doing.
It was a good episode though. Go check it out
Yeah.
on YouTube and Twitch. AEG Show,
Yep.
The Grind.
Well,
But-
while your memorable mention list did not floor me like Jeff's did, I think you have a solid memorable mention list.
It's
Like,
all over the place. It's stuff
yeah.
that I would not have thought about, honestly.
I think you killed it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just the stuff that I wanted to give a shout out to. State of Decay 2 and Uncharted: The Lost Legacy in particular were on my list. God of War wasn't on my list. I love it. It's a great game, but it wasn't on my list. But this,
I'm really curious what your number one is.
but now we move on to the next round,
The last
And-
round.
the last round, the
Number
final
first.
round. Our number one favorite game of the generation thus far. Kick it off, Dalton.
All right. So if you've been listening to the AEG show over the course of the last, well, pretty much since we started the AEG show,
I know what
my
it is.
number one.
I know
My
what it
number one's not going to come as a shock. It's not a
Nope.
surprise. It's not going to blow anyone away. It is Platinum Games and Yoko Toro's Near Automata. Now,
I knew it.
I
Yes.
knew that.
It was
fucking
a lot coming along.
fantastic game. Not only is it my personal pick for game of the generation, it is the game of the generation. It is 2017's game of the year. It is the
Wrong.
best game to come out in 20 years. It's the best game since Final Fantasy X. It is so good, dude. The story's so good, the writing's so good, and you know Yoko Toro, man, he's gonna throw in those weird fucking quips and fucking side stories, this weird endings and shit, dude. There's some weird shit mixed into the game, but story that like, and my biggest thing too, if I can get emotionally attached to a character, whether they're real people or whatever the fucking case may be, that's saying a lot. I was emotionally invested in these characters and the fucking the multiple endings and stuff of the game, the multiple playthroughs, and just finding out what happens, dude. It takes a fucking toll. And you read some of the shit, like some of the shit when you play through the second playthrough. I don't want to spoil it because you guys need to play it. There's some sad shit.
I
in
have
there.
played
There's
it.
some fucking,
I finished
yeah.
it. Platinumed it.
Yeah, that doesn't. I got it too, but yeah. But yeah,
How many trophies did you buy from the store, huh?
Like 10 of them, probably somewhere in there.
I love that Yoko Toro did that. It was such a troll move.
It is a
like,
troll move. Yes, I'm glad you.
So
It is-
tongue in cheek with that, with how
Play the
weird that game is.
enjoy it. Don't
But
rush
that
to
is
get
so Yoko Toro,
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Like, it is just fucking right up. Like, dude, you see it and you're like, this is not surprising at all. So, but yeah, Near Automata is my game of the generation. I've played through it multiple times.
Thus far.
Yeah. And had we done a proper game of the year show for the end of 2017, which we did a personal one. That was our first year. We just started the AEG show. And it would have been AEG's game of the year 2017. And I would have fucking died before that episode ended, and it wasn't number one. So, Near Automata, game of the generation.
Before we move on,
Thank you, Platinum Games.
before we move on from this, I have to ask you because I know you haven't found your Switch yet. But
Man, you took the words out of my mouth, Goose. I was gonna say this. Go ahead.
Takahisa Tauda was the lead game designer over on Nier Automata, and now he is the director of Astral Chain. Will you, Dalton, be picking up Astral Chain on Switch?
As soon as I find my Switch, I will 100% be picking it up. I don't think I bid it on it. Who ended up with that game?
I bid on it, and you're not playing it, motherfucker.
I can't.
got tips on Astral Chain.
Marlon has the rights, the AEG rights to it, so no, I will not be picking it up. No, if I can't find my Switch, I'll end up buying another one.
Oh, you can get one of those new ones. One of those new, the new.
Longer battery life ones.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll be playing
Well,
it, dude. I can't wait for Astral Chain. I didn't play Nier Automata. I'm glad you mentioned, but yeah. Anyway,
The more and more I
that's
see of Astral Chain, the more actually excited I'm getting for that game. So
number one, Nier Automata. So we
Before-
don't need to finish
surprising,
this,
but
because
well
that's
said.
everyone
Dalton.
else's number one as well. So moving on. Good episode, guys.
So
No, go
I will
ahead,
make
Philip.
I will make a prediction. Marlon is about to choose his first one, and I think that he's gonna steal my thunder. But go ahead, Marlon.
Okay.
Marlon's number one.
My
Game
Marlon,
number
keep
of the
it
generation thus
short and
far.
sweet.
All right, so basically, I'm just gonna say it from this angle because of this game, I probably have spoken a lot over the past years in most of the podcasts that I've done. For me, my game of the generation when it comes to 8th generation gaming is Destiny and Destiny 2. There is a before.
You can't have them both.
after.
You
Yeah,
can't
you
have
can
them
have them both.
both.
Yeah, because it's a continuation of the
No,
game.
it's not. One's a sequel.
No, you have to pick one or the other, man.
Yeah, you can't have both.
Destiny 1. Destiny 1.
Okay.
For a very specific reason, because there is a before and there is an after. Okay? There was a before Destiny when it comes to looter shooter, and there was an after Destiny when it comes to looter shooters. There is a precedence that now a lot of companies take from Bungie. It is a bold move that Bungie did by releasing Halo from the grips of Microsoft and saying, you know what, you can have it. We'll go on our own way and we'll do our own different, new IP. The fact for me, the thing that makes this game the game of the generation for me is because if was not for this game, I would have never met Gustavo.
Fuck
Would have
you, I'm
never
gonna say
met
the same
Dalton.
thing.
I would have never met Dalton, Jeff, all my buddies at TMSG, and I would never be doing this podcast with you guys. That is the reason why
He's not wrong.
this game for me has given me so much when it comes to just relationships with other people and just all the shenanigans that we've gotten through with this stuff.
Goose is getting so pissed.
I had to mute my mic because I'm crying.
Look at look at Dalton with his Destiny tattoo.
So
Yeah,
so for me,
literally in the frame.
and we're not talking about gameplays wise because it was addicting. Okay, the game for Destiny 1 was addicting as hell. This was the game like Gustavo was talking about, where I will be sitting at college, I will be in class, and I'd just be thinking, gotta go back and play Destiny. And it was the hunt for the Gallahorn. It was the hunt for the Vex Mytho class. It was the hunt for all these things that
Crux
make
of
me.
Crota.
Don't even remind me on that crap. And it was
God,
a
I
crap
miss
Gascon
that.
too. So the game for me, it encompasses 5 years of my life that I feel that have been the best years of my life when it comes to gaming wise. I have learned the most from these 5 years. I have learned, more than I can ever count down when it comes to just actual progression of how video games are made and when it comes to developing. Because this game made me not only think about what the gamer wants, but also what the developer wants to create when it comes to a structural, and it comes to storyline, when it comes to just what the people want. And the game, I have over 3,000 hours between both games. This is my MMO, this is my WoW. This is, for me, the game that made me into White Sun, and why everybody in the fucking clan calls me the pendejo for calling it White Sun. So that's my number one pick. I'm not gonna get into the gaming because the gaming at its core was very repetitive. It was, you were on a hamster wheel going over and over and over again, just trying to do everything. And people were telling me, like, why do you keep playing this game? It's such a repetitive game, but there was something about it that just made me want to go back and do it every single time, every single night. And
I think all of us here will agree with you. Like, we all loved Destiny. Like, all of us. I, like Goose pointed out, I have a tattoo of it. So it's seriously, like, man, a lot of great memories playing the first game. We've all moved on to other shit at this point, except for Marlon. And we give him shit. We give him a lot of shit on here, and we have in the past. But Destiny is definitely what brought us all together. It expanded my PlayStation friends list beyond anything that I ever thought I'd ever have. I had like 8 friends before that game came out, and yeah, so I love the pick, Marlon. I'm not surprised by it. I knew that was going to be your number one right from the beginning, and I'm happy that you stuck. I'm happy that you stuck to it and kept it as your number one. And
Dude,
now I'm
like I said, Dalton. There's a before and after. I mean, we're talking about buddies of mine, you guys, that I'll be 85 years old, 95 years old, and I'll be thinking, man, that damn fucking Gustavo, his stupid ass fucking Gallagher, fucked me over one more time.
You know what? We've come up with like already an idea for a future episode, but I think one day we should all just sit down and just fucking bullshit, like just like a complete riff episode, just talking about Destiny and our experiences with it from year one to year whatever. You know what I mean? Just just go on. I mean, whether people listen to it or not. But go ahead, Jeff.
That would be a great
I
one.
think it would also be cool to do an actual stream of just us four playing Destiny together.
Yeah.
God, I can just imagine us. Please don't go to competitive. I don't want to go to competitive with you guys.
Just us doing like strikes. Right.
Chalice. We could do the chalice thing, right?
Yeah, we could
Yeah, just doing strikes or the chalice or just something, just some activity that we can just bullshit the whole time.
Oh God, it's gonna be like this. Look, just make sure that if you are a Titan, don't put the ball next to me, please. I'm shooting my rocket launcher. I don't want to have basically getting killed. So then that's my number one pick. Jeff, I believe you are next.
So my number one pick is Zelda Breath of the Wild because I feel it is such a good game that it deserves to be on my memorable mentions and my number one. Fuck you, Galt.
Oh, no. Dude, look at he wiped the smile right off his face.
100% joking. My number one is actually Dalton's number 5, which is Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Whoa.
I love it. I didn't think it was going to be your number one, though. I'm not going to lie.
It clearly wasn't last year during our debates.
I know.
Yeah.
Right?
Jeff hadn't finished it, though.
This is not Jeff. This is not
you
Jeff.
You had not finished Odyssey.
I don't think I had finished it. Yeah, I had not finished it at that point because I finished it and platinumed it over Christmas.
Yeah.
Like right around the end of last year. Yeah. I played the fuck out of that game. I don't normally platinum games. I don't normally try to do everything there is to possibly do in a game, but that game did it. I got bit by the bug. When I was in school, I was a extremely huge fan of Greek mythology and that setting of time and place, and I feel that they just nailed like everything that like you could think of when you would read, the books, the Iliad, the Odyssey, all that stuff, and just feel that is what that it was bringing it to life on a video game. I just personally thought it was phenomenal. I have it installed. I have all the DLC installed. I'm going to eventually go back and play through all the DLC, especially the Atlantis stuff that just wrapped up. That game is just incredible.
I'm actually kind of surprised you put it. I knew you loved the game because you and I talked about it a bunch when you were going for your platinum run. Like you and I were constantly texting back and forth that whole period. So I knew you loved it, but I did not think it was going to be your number one. I really am. Yeah.
At heart, I am a single player gamer, and that for me, playing that game for those, that week or whatever, that was my epitome of this is why I love single player gaming. Just putting my headphones on, sitting there, doing nothing but eat, breathing, sleeping that game.
Yeah, I
love it. That's my number one.
Good pick. One of the biggest things that I'm really glad about the show, this particular show, is that I feel that we as AEG have elevated these past 2 Assassin's Creed games to we really have given them their due by talking about them. Not that other publications and other outlets haven't done that, but I'm just glad that we as AEG have done that because we have folks like Jeff who have played many of the Assassin's Creed before. My friend Justin is a huge Assassin's Creed fan, but it's funny because for all the reasons that he loves games 1 through up to Origins, it's the same reasons that I dislike them. And it's the reasons why I love Origins, and I know that I'm going to love Odyssey because it's the exact same thing. And I don't say that in a reductive way, but I'm so happy that I placed Origins 3. Jeff placed Odyssey 1, and I believe that Dalton placed Odyssey 5. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's funny that actually it was the odd numbers.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm really glad that we have focused on the last 2 Assassin's Creed Origins, and I can't wait for what they're cooking up in 2020.
I really hope it's Vikings. I
Yeah.
really fucking hope it's Vikings.
And while you're on that topic, you mentioned that Jeff has been an Assassin's Creed fan. Safe to say, he's played most of them, right?
I've played every single one except Rogue and Liberation.
Right. And then me, if you listen to like early episodes of the AEG show, which we were learning, but I talked some mad shit on not only Assassin's Creed but Ubisoft as a whole.
Yeah,
Yeah, you were a big UB hater.
Yeah,
they
pretty much
your voice is
discontinued-
really low.
Yeah, they pretty much discontinued my beloved Prince of Persia franchise for the Assassin's Creed franchise. Although they have not come out and directly said that, but that's
Big
what they
Dick
did.
Daddy Dalton.
But yeah, and then Odyssey being my top 5 list this generation, and then obviously being Jeff's number 1, it's pretty awesome. I think Ubisoft
that
definitely.
series has had a rejuvenation the last few years for sure.
It has. It needed it, and it has.
And
You
they
guys are talking
delivered.
about absolutely. I'm like, man, I want to play. I kind of regret not playing Odyssey my last week off, but whatever. I got a week off in November, but that's for Death Stranding, folks.
Hell yeah!
So
I got a
this
week
leads-
off in December.
Oh, dude, you got weeks off, dude. Get the fuck out of here. I took the
Honestly-
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just realized I took the bait because I'm like, wait a minute, he has the whole time off. I'm like,
Here's the thing for me, like we were talking about Prince of Persia and how they basically like let it go to the wayside. Do you think that they should make a remake to that cell shade game of Prince of Persia? Was it
2008,
2012?
No, I
absolutely.
think-
2008. I love that Prince of Persia.
I
That
don't
game
think they
was
should do a
awesome.
remake. I think they should do a sequel.
Yeah.
I love that game.
I think the hard part, not to go into a big tangent, but I think the hard part for Ubi is, as the Assassin's Creed game took over in a sense for what Prince of Persia
That
was
spot,
in a
that
sense
spot of their like of their
lineup.
portfolio.
Yeah. So
Assassin's
where
Creed
does
kind
it
of took
fit?
that spot.
So
Yeah.
where does it fit now? Like, I know we had Assassin's Creed in 07, and then we had Prince of Persia in 08, and then for whatever reason, people just had a horrible a reaction to that game, and they switched gears and then went back to the formula of 1, 2, and 3 for current gen
The Forgotten Sands.
with the Forgotten Sands, and that was good, but I just don't know where. I think it's easier for them to do a Splinter Cell, which is clearly lacking in their lineup, as opposed to another.
Yeah, and
Do a Splinter Cell. Jesus Christ.
it's to the point now where the Prince of Persia franchise is kind of more of a niche market now. It's for like the old timers like me, who aren't like the primary gamers, I guess, necessarily anymore. Or maybe they are and they've moved on to other things, and I'm still stuck in the past.
They should
I
make
think
a Splinter Cell cell shade game.
No.
They should
No.
or a retro, 8-bit just to fuck with Jeff. Here's your
No.
new Splinter Cell for the SNES.
Oh
People
no!
can't
Like
fit
So we still have
that mobile game that they're doing or whatever the fuck. That was already enough of a slap in the face.
no, one of my favorite troll moments of all time is that old guy from Square Enix in 2014 when he's like, "And we have for PS4 Final Fantasy VII," and it's like a fucking port.
Yep.
It's the PC port. And you see
It's
him
the
laughing.
port.
Like, oh.
Yeah, it was the port that they did.
Yeah, people were like cheering and screaming, and then all of a sudden they show it, and everyone's just like, you can see the audience like what the fuck? Fuck Square
The
Enix.
funniest thing is you see that Japanese fucker just throwing his head back and laughing.
So, all right. Since we went
All
a
right,
little
Goose,
bit
let's-
there.
To
What's third,
finish
Phil?
it off, what's your number one?
He stole my thunder, folks. He stole my thunder, but that's okay because I'm gonna bring it home. It's Destiny for all the reasons that he mentioned, and then some. When I think of Destiny, now to be clear to the listeners, I have stepped away from Destiny. I have not been in the game for a long time now. I tried to come back with the Forsaken DLC. I gave it a shot. It was fun. They fixed a lot of great things. Right, this is not dump on Destiny mode. This is elevate Destiny mode. But it was Destiny, dude. Destiny was that game that sort of brought me back to my childhood, where again, I'm in school, in class, and I just can't wait to get Destiny. I'm thinking about ways to beat the raid. I'm thinking about playing with my friends. For the listeners out there, I'm not a social butterfly. I don't like people much, right? I prefer to work alone. It's easier for me to say fuck off than to say hello, good morning. That's just the type of person I am. I don't like folks much. But playing this game has given me so many memories. It's taught me so much in terms of how to deal with people, right? Not everybody's the same. Not everybody's a fire breather like me. Not everybody's going to think like me. And playing this game has taught me that, because it's a game where the end goal is to get loot, but in order to get that loot, you have to go through a trial, and that trial is called the raid. And unless everybody is committed, unless everybody is willing to give their all, unless everybody is willing to put in the same amount of work that you're willing to put in, you're not going to beat the raid. You're not going to get past that obstacle. And you were given responsibilities, and moreover, you had to trust the guy next to you. You literally, it's like you're in a battlefield. It sounds cheesy, but you had to trust the guy next to you to do his fucking job, and he had to trust you to do yours. And for me, Vault of Glass, that was probably my favorite raid, and it was the most. No, sorry, it's my second favorite raid after King's Fall, but it was one where, Marley, you're gonna have to help me here because I forgot the name of the. I forgot the name of the enemies, but the enemy who always has the void shield, the big tall one, Vex. What's his name?
What, the Minotaurs?
Minotaur. So in Vault of Glass, there's a section where there's a Minotaur who comes in through like the middle of the map, and it was my responsibility to take care of those Minotaurs in that Vault of Glass raid. And if I didn't do that, I would screw up the guy on the right, and I would screw up the guy on the left, because they would spill over and they would cause problems for them. And I just needed to do my job. Same thing with Callus. There was this one time where me and Andrew got not in an argument, but he got a little upset with me because he's like, "Dude, why are you taking out my Scion before you take out yours? Trust me to do my job. If you trust me to do my job and you just do yours, we're gonna be fine. You keep taking my guy out because you don't trust me." And he was right. He was fucking right. I was like, "I don't trust you to do it, so I got to do it myself." And we kept failing because I kept fucking up. And once I listened to him and he was like, "Dude, just trust me." Once I was like, "You know what, Andrew, you can do it." And I just decided to take care of my guy. It was it. But there's just so many memories that I have with that game. Chasing after the Galahorn, not me, but helping my friends chase it, because I got it in the first month, right? But helping my friend, oh my God, Logan, get the hawk. Like within our group, TMSG, and those guys, it's a legendary tale. It is literally a legendary tale of our friend Logan chasing for this one weapon for fucking months, and then once he gets it, he's like, it's okay.
The funny thing about that story is that he saw two people get the Hawk Moon like back to back, and then you jumped in, right, Gustavo, or was it Justin who jumped in and got the last word, like literally, like
it was me. So there's a real quick story. There's so he had stayed home, or he was off for 2 days. I forgot what the story was, but he had been off for a while, and he was grinding the shit out of strikes. He was just grinding strikes over and over with randoms, with his friends, with just grinding strikes. And I hop in, and I'm like, "Hey, you want me to help you?" He's like, "Yeah, I just been grinding strikes for a couple of days." I'm like, "I'll help you." In my second strike, I got a last word. And he just couldn't believe it. He's like, fuck. No, he lost it. We were doing Crota's End, and I was playing with my Titan. I didn't want to raid that night. But I got on. We raided. I got last word. I didn't even see that I got last word. But he was like, "Oh, no." And he was like almost close to, "Oh, no, fuck. Who's got last word? I did it, blah, blah." But it's just the characters that we came in. There was this one guy, Kenneth Kench from Wisconsin. He would always drop into the party. "You guys got a checkpoint?" Guys got a checkpoint. It's just
Dude, he's still the same. Kench is still the same, man. We were playing Callus the other night, and he just got into the party. He goes, "Does anyone have a Callus checkpoint?"
It's like, yeah, I don't want to play with you motherfuckers, but if you have a checkpoint, I'll take it and go raid with these other people.
with other people. Yep. But it's my number one because of the people that I've met, because of the relationships that I've forged, because of the things that I'm doing now in terms of this show with the AEG guys. I would have never met Dalton if it wasn't for Marlon. I would have never met Jeff if it wasn't for Dalton. I want to give a quick fucking shout out to Nick. Nick is the youngest of the group. He's a great guy. He's a good guy. But if it wasn't for Nick, really, if it wasn't for this guy out in the Bronx who I don't even talk to anymore, H-Bills, who I met Nick through. But if it wasn't for Nick, I would not have met anybody. I wouldn't have met a single one of these guys if it wasn't for Nick. It was Nick who I met, and through him, I met everybody else. It was just like a web. It was like this web of I met Justin, then I met Lee, then I met Andrew, then I met Marlon, then I met Dalton, then I met Jeff, then I met Logan, then I met Jacob first, then I met Logan, then I met KJ. Right? It's just all these little webs that through this game. I've even gone on trips with these guys. I can say that I've broken bread and had a drink with these guys.
Same here.
And we will do the same thing with Jeff and Dalton. You guys aren't that far behind. But it's my number one just because of that.
Here's the thing for me, man. Like when it comes to Destiny, it's like the funny thing about how I met everybody else was this. I get into a party and I'm like, you know what? I really want to do Crota. I really want to do Walter Bass, but I don't want to get into like freaking LFG. I don't want to do all that kind of stuff. So I get into this party, and we're playing, we're having fun. When this guy called Dalton Gooman asked me like in the middle of the raid, "So, question, where are you from, bro?" And I tell him, "Oh, I'm from here." "No, you're not." "Okay." "No, you're not. Where are you from?" Like,
I love it.
"I'm from Miami." "No, seriously, where are you from?"
He's like, "Stop fucking with me."
What, did you come over on a fucking raft? Like, no, you're not from Miami.
Trust me, man.
And now the AEG show is here because of Destiny.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's.
It's funny thing about it, because think about it. We had so many stories that we can talk about, and we could talk about any video game that we played for the past decade, But if somebody asks you, okay, which game is the most memorable for you because of so and so reason, we can say because it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you think, okay, which game I had the most fun? Well, Final Fantasy X. But if it wasn't for that game, would you have still played other games? And you think, yeah, I probably would have done it. But when it comes to meeting people, when it comes to making a relationship with people, that's a lot more difficult. That's more nuanced. That's more, finicky about things. The fact that this game allowed people from Ohio, Miami, Orlando, New York, California, Tennessee, fucking London, for crying out loud. A couple of buddies of mine from London and from Australia. You can that,
Yeah. And obviously, it's not the first game to do that, but it was the first game for me. First game for us.
First game for us to do it, exactly.
And yeah, I don't know, as far as first person shooters go, I never played first person shooters, right? Destiny is the first one that I ever got into and that I ever got good at. It's the only one I ever got good at. You can even ask Marlon, like towards the end of year one Destiny and when Taken King came out.
Good.
Yeah, we were fucking ballers. Like, I'm running people through heroic Kingsfall raids. You know what I mean?
I was to say, I only did the raids in Destiny 1 because of you, Dalton, because you were running me through them.
I'm getting messages online from people I don't even know, like, "Hey, can you run me through Kingsfall?" And I'm like, fuck yeah. I agreed all the time because I love doing it so much. Gustavo mentioned it. Kingsfall was my favorite raid.
Same.
From a nostalgia standpoint, Crota's End is my favorite, but as far as mechanically driven, most well put together, I think King's Fall is the best raid, and I would love to go back and do it again. I'd love to go back and do them all.
That's my favorite raid because, see, you think of VOG, especially Crota. Crota, I think, dropped the ball, although it was a very fun raid, but you needed that one guy to be
good raid.
Yeah, it relied on one person. It was successful because of everybody, but that sword guy needed to be on point. I mean, everybody needed to be on point to make sure that he went down, but the sword guy needed to be on point especially. But King's Fall was my favorite one because it wasn't about strength. It wasn't about power. Yeah, sure, you had to have the maximum light level or the minimum light level to be effective, but everybody needed to be on mechanically. You needed to make sure, especially when it came to the sisters, when it came to running the platforms, when it came to doing the call-outs, when it came to make sure that the person in the middle had the bubble ready, right? The person, when you guys had to run out to go into the bubbles for the ogres, right? Everything needed to be clicking on all cylinders. If there was a chink in the armor, if there was a weak link, you weren't gonna beat the raid that night. You were gonna be there for fucking hours. And oh god, I love that. I love that fucking raid.
For me, that's the raid that I hated the most for a very specific reason, because it was very mechanically driven, so everybody had to be on point. So there wasn't a lot of chances for you to be heroic in that specific raid, because if somebody fucked up, forget it. Just wipe, start all over. Easier that way. The reason why I hated that raid were for a very specific encounter.
The Blight, when you're in the Blight?
No.
Oh, Fulgoth. Oh.
Fulgoth, that fucking ogre, because there was an ongoing joke in our clan that there's a specific strategy to how to deal with Fulgoth, where you're supposed to shoot his back so he could turn away and, get a buff. And everybody had to get the buff in sequence. So Dalton would go first, then Jeff would go second, then Gustavo would go third, then Justin would go fourth, then KJ would go fifth. I was always the last guy. Always the motherfucking last guy. And everybody else, all right, don't shoot at him. He'll be fine. Because there was orbs that would shoot at you that would come from Fulgoth to kill you.
But you never complained.
Because I had to get the
until now.
I had to get the loot. I had to keep my mouth shut and just grind it out. Dude, I was so mad because it was like, shoot the orbs, help KJ, help Justin, help Gustavo, fuck Marlon, he'll be okay. I was like, fuck you. This is true.
But he never complained, so how would we know? Right? If you don't speak up, if you don't say, hey, this sucks.
Motherfucker, help me.
But that leads us to the end of the show. It was a fun one to record. I really enjoyed the company of all you guys talking about all of our favorite games of the generation thus far. Before I close it out, do any one of you guys have anything else you want to talk about in terms of memorable mentions or favorite ones or anything in particular? Ooh.
I just have one thing I want to add, and it's to the Destiny conversation before we even do our episode. And we don't need to go into a tangent, but King's Fall, the Taken King, is peak Destiny. Like right now, everything. King's Fall is Destiny's peak.
I'd agree. The Dreadnought was a very fun setting to be in.
The Taken King.
King's Fall, the raid itself, it was just I agree.
The whole expansion.
I would agree that at least for me, at least for you and I.
Thank you. There we go.
Yeah.
That's a good way of picking it, because I could say that Leviathan had some moments. I could say that Crown of Sorrows, which is the new raid they just dropped, has some really good mechanics that you probably too would really like if you like King's Fall.
I want to play it.
So I can honestly tell you guys that the game right now suffers from one problem. Too much content, unlike Anthem. So we can call it like that. We can just leave the game.
That's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
Have too much content.
So that leads us.
Our top fives.
We rattled off our top five. Hopefully, in the not so distant future, we can come back once the generation closes, and we can actually rattle. We can actually rattle off our top five of the entire generation, right? Because we've got a couple more years left, folks, until 2020. But thank you for listening. Make sure to catch us on YouTube. Make sure to catch us on Twitch over at the AEG Show. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at the AEG Show. For all you 900 fuckers, listen to the fucking show. Download it. Download the show. because you don't do that. It pisses me the fuck off, okay? But no, and all jokes aside, I'm not joking. Share, listen, and subscribe. Thank you. And with that, have a great one, folks.
Thank you, guys.